Hello, my name is Michael Anderson, and I want to share with you the story of the near-death experience I had in 2001. It was an event that completely changed my life and helped me see the world, people, and myself in an entirely new way. At that time, I was living in New York and working in the advertising industry, a job full of pressure and stress. I frequently worked late into the night, neglecting my family and my health. On a winter afternoon, while attending an intense meeting, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. At first, I thought it was just stress or fatigue, but within a few minutes I collapsed to the floor under the shocked eyes of my colleagues. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying in the emergency room. The doctors told me I had suffered a severe heart attack and that my condition was critical. They said the chances of survival were very slim. Hearing those words, I could only pray, a practice I hadn't done in a very long time. That night, while the doctors were trying to save me, I felt a strange sensation, as if my soul was separating from my body. I could see myself lying on the hospital bed, with the medical equipment beeping incessantly. I saw the doctors and nurses working tirelessly to save me, but I no longer felt pain or worry. Instead, I experienced an indescribable peace. Looking at my body from above, I noticed a gentle light appearing, surrounding me. That light was not just bright, but filled with love and warmth. I was naturally drawn into it, without any fear or hesitation. I saw myself moving through a tunnel filled with radiant light. That light didn't blind me. On the contrary, it embraced me, making me feel loved unconditionally. Here I heard heavenly sounds, like celestial music I had never encountered anywhere on earth. Inside the tunnel, I felt the presence of something divine. I didn't see God's face, but I knew He was there. I heard a gentle, compassionate voice speak to me. "Michael, you are not alone. I am always here." Those words penetrated deeply into my soul, making me regret that I had spent so little time in my life thinking about Him. As the light led me out of the tunnel, I found myself standing in a vast open field. Everything here was luminous but not blinding. I felt love enveloping the entire space, as if everything was woven from the very essence of God's love. I met a woman radiating light who introduced herself as one of my guardians. She said, "Michael, you have been loved and guided throughout your life, but you have forgotten to listen." She led me to meet the loved ones I had lost. I recognized my grandparents who had passed away when I was very young. They smiled and said they had always been watching over me. I also reunited with my best friend John, who had died in a car accident. John hugged me and said, "You've done better than you think, Michael." One of the most profound parts of the experience was when I was guided into a large room. Here, I saw an enormous screen replaying my entire life. I witnessed beautiful moments. When I helped a friend in need, when I hugged my mother for the last time before she passed away, or when I spent time playing with my son. But then, I also had to confront my mistakes. I saw the times I hurt others, the lies I told, and the moments I chose selfishness over love. What stood out was not only seeing those events, but also feeling the emotions of the people I had hurt. I felt their pain, and it overwhelmed me with a desire to apologize immediately. After the life review, I was met by a group of angels. They spoke to me about the essential principles that I needed to bring back to earth. Love is the foundation of everything. Forgiveness heals all wounds. Living for others is the best way to find meaning in life. God is always with you, even when you don't realize it. One of the angels said, "Michael, you must return. There is still so much for you to accomplish. Your family needs you, and you have a mission to spread the love and light you have experienced today." I didn't want to go back. I told them that I had found my home and didn't want to return to a world full of suffering. But one of the angels placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "You will not go alone. We will always be with you." When I returned to my body, it felt like a tremendous jolt. I gasped for air, like someone who had been drowning and was suddenly saved. I opened my eyes and saw myself lying in the hospital bed with my family standing around me. Everyone said that I had been clinically dead for several minutes, but thanks to the doctor's efforts, I had survived. This experience completely changed my life. I abandoned my selfish ways, spent more time with my family, and learned to love others unconditionally. I became involved in charity work, helping those in need, and sharing the message of God's love with everyone I could. The most important lesson I learned was, love and forgiveness can heal anything. No matter who you are loved unconditionally by God, and you can do extraordinary things just by spreading that love to others. If you want to hear more stories like this, listen to your heart and open yourself to the light. I believe that every experience, no matter how painful, holds meaning when we discover true love within it. After returning from my near-death experience, I began to notice that the world around me was no longer the same. I often saw small signs that I had never paid attention to before. For example, when I was contemplating a difficult decision, I would see repeating numbers like 1111 or 333 on the clock. At first, I thought it was mere coincidence, but gradually I realized that this was how God and the angels were guiding me. I also started to feel the presence of my guardian spirits more clearly. In my dreams, Antonia, the first guardian I met during my experience, often appeared and spoke to me. She reminded me to live with purpose and always choose the path of love. She said, "Michael, you will face many challenges, but you are never alone. Trust in the light you have seen." One of the biggest changes in my life was my quest to find ways to help others. I joined charitable organizations, supported the homeless, and shared my story with anyone willing to listen. I didn't tell this story for attention, but to remind people that no matter how hard life gets, there is always a light waiting for them at the end of the tunnel. I also began writing a book sharing the details of my experience, including the principles I had learned from the angels. These principles not only transformed me, but also helped others find meaning in their lives. One of the greatest challenges I faced after returning was learning to forgive. During my near-death experience, I had felt the pain I had caused others. This compelled me to reach out to those I had hurt in the past to apologize. I remember calling my ex-wife, whom I had hurt deeply many years ago. I told her how sorry I was for the pain I had caused and asked for her forgiveness. To my surprise, she said she had forgiven me long ago and wished me well. The relief and happiness I felt in that moment were indescribable. My experience also deepened my understanding of the importance of religion in life. Previously, I had thought of religion as a rigid set of rules, but after seeing God's light, I realized that faith is the bridge that connects us to His unconditional love. I began attending church more frequently, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. I saw God in everything, in the eyes of the poor, in the smiles of children, and in the peaceful moments of everyday life. I also learned how to pray in a meaningful way, not just to ask for things, but to express gratitude and to listen. One of the most important lessons I learned from the experience was the power of love. Love is not just an emotion, it is an energy that can change the world. Love heals the deepest wounds and brings hope to those who are lost. I recall one time when I was helping a homeless man. He looked at me and said, "You have no idea how much this means to me." His words made me realize that sometimes even a small act of kindness can have a profound impact. This is how God works through us. Part 14. Warnings about the future. During my near-death experience, I was shown visions of the future. One of them depicted a world filled with chaos, where people turned against each other, consumed by hatred and division. But I also saw an alternate future, a world where people lived in peace and love, where children were safe, and everyone worked together to build a better world. The message was clear. We have a choice. We can choose the path of love, forgiveness, and unity, or we can let fear and anger lead us astray. But what's most important is that every individual contributes to the bigger picture. My story doesn't end with the near-death experience. It was only the beginning. I'm not a perfect person, but I strive every day to live with gratitude and love. I believe that each of us has a mission, and when we discover it, we will experience the light and love I saw on my journey. If you're hearing this story, I want you to know that you too are loved unconditionally. Even if you feel alone or lost, God is always there waiting for you. Trust, love, and never give up hope. This is my story, and I hope it inspires you to live a more meaningful life. If you're listening to this story, take a moment to think about the people you love and how you can spread that love to others. Because in the end, we are all light, and that light has the power to change the world.